Hi everyone, welcome back to Medway Wrestle. This is episode 2 of the Commute Shoot. So it is just ramblings from me while I commute, either to work, to the gym, and you get to spend this time with me. And we are going to choose different topics like we spoke about in episode 1. Not really sure where this show is going to head. So today I thought I would have a talk about Smyths. So Smyths Toys. It is a toy retailer in the UK. There's one pretty much in most towns. They're kind of, I wouldn't say every city, every town, but there are quite a lot about. I'm from the southeast, so I've got ones that really I can get to are the Gillingham branch and the Maidstone branch. So they're pretty much the ones I frequent. I have been further afield. I've been to there's one in Crayford. If I want to brave getting near Dartford with the traffic and the bridge. There's also one in Ashford, which again is a little bit further, but I have been there. If they've got something in stock that isn't in other shops, I have travelled to the Ashford one before. But the main ones are Gillingham and Maidstone. So stock-wise, they have a lot of stock. Other than maybe some independent wrestling shops out there, and there are a few, I would say Smyths has probably, as a mainstream company, got the best selection of wrestling figures in the UK, and sometimes maybe even in America. I see in some of the groups, being from the UK, you just think that in America it must be very easy to get hold of these figures. Every shop must be stocked with lots of them because that's where they're coming from. But it doesn't seem to be the case. When you look on the wrestling figure groups and that on Facebook, they're always out of stock everywhere, and you see them putting pictures and there's hardly anything there. They do have a better selection sometimes of the types of series of the figures that they have, but yeah, nowhere near what Smyths have. And you even see people commenting on pictures that people have put on of Smyths, or a video saying like how good it is, how well stocked it is, coming from like American collectors. So Smyths does stand out as the main go-to for getting wrestling figures, with exceptions of different figure lines that are coming out, because they don't have everything. They've started doing ultimates. They have got the Monday Night Wars series, that they have the mainline stuff. Occasionally it's missing one from the series line for whatever reason. But yeah, and the price point in Smyths is still keeping it as £20 for an elite figure, which is amazing. The Entertainer, another English or UK retailer, they're like £28 for an elite now when they come out, and then usually they're discounted down to like £22 or something like that. But speaking of discounts, this is where we're coming with the Smyths topic today, which is are they becoming a victim of their discounts? Because Smyths have this kind of philosophy on their products, and I don't think it's just wrestling figures. I think it's just all of their toys in general, because you see like the different sale sections and what they have. But they have this thing where they go, for an elite figure, it will be £10, and then it will just drop to 15, and then drop to 10, and there's still kind of plenty of stock of them, and then it goes to like £10, sometimes 7 or 5, and then eventually they're gone because people have bought them up, and new figures come in, and again they go through that same process, and it almost seems that they are a victim of people just holding off. Because if you're you want to get like wrestling figures, and you're a collector, or you're just buying them for your kids, they cost quite a lot of money. To get a new line series comes out, maybe there's 6 figures to that. It's £120 if you want to get all those figures, and that's just one line, like one series of figures. You've then got your legends and your ultimates and the Monday Night Wars and the different builder figure ranges for like WrestleMania and Royal Rumble, etc., etc. So I can see why people will want to sit and wait, but you sit there and wait for them to go to 15 to 10 before you then purchase. So they're not selling at 20, which means they're then going discounted. But then are Smyths going to be in danger of then just stopping lines completely? Because we've seen in the past, originally they had the original lot of ultimates out, and I remember them getting reduced down, and then they sold, and then they just disappeared after the first 3 series. We never got Ultimates again until fairly recently when they came back. But the same thing's happening with them. I saw some of the Ultimates reduced down to £12 with the recent ones they've had. You know, we had the Legend series for a brief run of a couple of series, and again the same thing. It went down, reduced, and then they've not had them back. Monday Night Wars. I don't know how often, you know, if you frequent Smyths often, you'll probably notice that when the Monday Night Wars first came out, there was a big presence of Monday Night Wars in the shops. So, you know, I would go as far as saying either a third to a half of the wrestling section was dominated with those figures, and they had multiple series up, lots of stock of each one, and they had a large section of that. When I went in there recently, I saw the new Monday Night Wars set with the one with Fatu and the Build-A-Figure of the Guardian, and it's now just 2 figures wide, you know, two boxes wide of Monday Night Wars. There's not that much stock there, and I think that's the effects of it getting reduced down and people sitting and waiting, and they're not making money. You know, these are just estimates, but you know, let's say they pay £15 or £10, whatever they pay at retail to get these figures in, and then they're selling. If they're then selling them at the cost they're buying them for or less, you know, that's not a sustainable business model, and they will have to change and do something. And unfortunately, it's those special series that seem to get hit the worst. So we want them in as fans, we want to get those series in, but because we are if they're not getting sold at full price, they then go. And it's the type of figures that come in those special lines that aren't necessarily an appeal to the younger generation. And they may be the ones that are spending the most money on the figures and getting the figures at retail price, at full price. You know, to a modern day fan who wants figures to collect or play, they want your Roman Reigns, they want your, you know, the brand new figures, the brand new releases that are coming out for current wrestling figures on the roster. So, you know, your LA Knights, your Jey Usos, all of that's the figures that they want to see in the shops, and they're the ones that they buy up, and they go and they're selling at full price. And so Smyths will love to get all of those figures in. So the mainline figures stay strong because they sell well, it seems, because they're usually the more up-to-date figures. When it comes to these other series like the Legend series and the Monday Night Wars series, you're looking at figures from the 90s, figures from the early 2000s. They're figures more for the collector than the younger kid that plays with them. And there are going to be exceptions to this. I know I've known customers of mine that were younger who had a list of really rare older characters that they wanted that they were trying to find. So there are exceptions to that, but by and large, the general buying power of those series are going to be for the older collector, because they know who those figures are. You know, there's not many 8-year-olds that are wanting a figure for Christmas or their birthday and they're going to want the shark, for instance. You know, there's just no appeal of that figure to them. They don't know who that is. They've never seen it. So it comes down to the older collector that would want them, and then there's not as many. So the you know, the supply and demand side of things, the supply at the moment is outweighing the demand, which is then causing them to be reduced, which will then also cause the supply to drop to meet the demand. And this is the issue I think we're going to see going forward with Smyths, is we're going to start losing those Ultimates. We're going to start losing the Monday Night Wars series maybe. We're going to start losing those other figures, and it's just going to open up more on the main line, on the basics, on the figures that are actually going through the till at full price and being bought. Because again, if you were the owner of Smyths and you're looking at your business model, you're gonna supply figures that are selling at full price. So going forwards, I think that we may see some ranges drop in Smyths, which would be a shame because it's a great place to get figures. There are lots of alternatives though if you like to shop online. There are lots of English retailers that are getting the stuff in new. You know, we sell figures at MidwayWrestle.com, but we aren't like a supplier. We don't get the stuff in, we buy and then resell. but if you go to, you know, search on Google at some of the sites, you'll find some. I mean, there's one, Superpower Toys, which I've used myself. I think they've got a physical shop now, somewhere up north, like Newcastle, Durham sort of way. Love to have a visit there, but just got to plan that in and actually get up that part of the country to go and have a look, because it looks awesome. I've not met any of the guys or spoke to them, but I have spoke to people that have spoke to them and I've only heard positive feedback about them. So they're someone I would recommend, just from using them before in the past, and from what I've heard about them, to have a look out for them. You know, and if it's not new releases and new figures you're out for, you're after just some of the cheaper figures that have been out for a while and stuff, you know, then give us a look. That is what MidwayWrestle.com is for. We've got lots of figures on there. We try and keep the prices as cheap as possible. Maybe you can fill some holes in your collection at a cheaper cost than buying boxed new figures. You know, we do have some boxed ones on there as well, but we're mainly like a loose figure company. So that's it for us on this commute shoot. I'm going to be putting up and starting my day. It is Halloween today, so you know, keep safe everyone in the evening. If you're going out trick-or-treating or you're just out and about, it can get a bit strange out there on a Halloween, especially being a Friday as well. So keep safe, have fun, and I'll see you later for another episode of Commute Shoot. Bye.